The Labour Parliamentary Party is meeting in Wexford, and the question of whether or not to field a presidential candidate has been up for discussion. Pat Rabbitte has said he would like to see a Labour candidate for the presidency, but he also said Labour needed to concentrate on the two forthcoming by-elections.
Labour Party TDs and senators arrived in Wexford for their annual think-in before the restart of the Dáil, a bit surprised by the level of media interest. The reason is the speculation surrounding their intentions in the presidential election. Michael D. Higgins had been strongly tipped as a candidate, but there's some doubt now about his enthusiasm for the role, and the Galway West TD was saying nothing in advance of the meeting. His party leader also has mixed views.
I would, yes, like to see a Labour candidate. One has to balance that against the overall priorities of the party. It's an expensive business. Our priority is to change the government.
The cost issue was also on the minds of the Greens as they endorsed the candidacy of their TD Eamon Ryan with a significant proviso.
We definitely want to contest this election, but we also recognise that we need resources, not to mention signatures. So at this point, it's not entirely in the gift of the parliamentary party to run a presidential election campaign.
If Labour decide not to run, they won't be filling any financial holes in the Green campaign, but would they give Eamon Ryan the votes he needs to get on the ballot paper?
If we come to the conclusion, I don't know the answer to that first question, that we're not going to run our own candidate, I think we would be open to consider other options, and we wouldn't certainly face that with a closed mind.
The parliamentary party won't formally discuss the presidency until tomorrow. Their recommendation will then go to Labour's national executive on Thursday for a final decision. David McCullough, RTE News, Wexford.
And we're joined now by our political correspondent, David Davenpower. David, at this stage, are we any clearer? Is there going to be an election?
It's really hard to say, Anne, given the uncertainty that surrounds the two and possibly three potential rivals to Mary McAleese. Look at Labour. If Michael D. Higgins really pushes his candidacy, I think the feeling in Wexford is that despite the misgivings of the party leadership, it might be difficult to refuse him. But if he doesn't show the same enthusiasm, and he's been keeping his counsel today, that he did before the summer for fighting a presidential election, then Pat Rabbitte might feel obliged to allow his TDs and senators back Eamon Ryan if they saw fit, making up the 20 names of Oireachtas members that Mr. Ryan needs to get his name on the ticket. But, and this is a very big but, it doesn't look as if any potential Labour support, if the party goes that road, will be accompanied by cash, and that is a crucial issue for a small party like the Greens, and that was reflected, as you saw, in the conditional support for the candidacy from the Green Parliamentary Party today. If there is no Labour cash, and the party's National Council, which meets on Saturday, feels that the Greens could be damaged by participating in a presidential election, they could still block Eamon Ryan's candidacy. Finally, a word about Dana. Her campaign to secure local authority support has got off to a very, very poor start, but there are still 2 weeks and there's quite a few local authorities out there. In summation, at this stage, we can't really say whether we'll be going to the polls next month.
Well, if there is an election, just listening to what the President had to say today, what's she likely to campaign on?
Two planks, I think. The experience she gained over the last 7 years and what she sees as her ability to speak on behalf of the Irish people at difficult times. She singled out in the news conference today the aftermath of the Omagh bombing and 9/11. Also, I think social inclusion. She spoke passionately to Sean O'Rourke in the News at One about how she felt that with our growing economic strength after a little blip in the economy, that there was a need to ensure that nobody got left behind in the resurgent Celtic Tiger. I think those will be two main elements in a campaign that she thinks will strike a chord with the electorate, if indeed she has to face them.
She also mentioned that she would have a vibrant campaign team. How well prepared is she for a campaign?
Oh, I think she's extremely well prepared. She's been working quietly behind the scenes. For instance, from tomorrow, 3 of her staff in the Áras will be going on leave of absence to lay the groundwork for a presidential campaign. Now, I suppose they're treading water until they see whether there will in fact be opponents. But even though it is an independent campaign, I think it's important to note that she will require the resources of the main political parties that are backing her if she is to contest this election with the vibrancy that she suggests.
David, thanks very much for joining us.